our geometry built, let's look at how we can create a UV layout so that we can export all those maps from ZBrush. So this is something that can be done really at any point, and that's one of the strengths of ZBrush, is that you can have a lot of flexibility in creating your UVs. You can bring those in after the fact, but let's go ahead and take a look at what we'll eventually need to do, and you can do this now or you can do it later. But what we want to have is, you can see I've got the UV layout here. We want to have all of our pieces laid out with non-overlapping UVs within this 0 to 1 space. Okay, you could put a checkerboard on your models to check it. You just want to make sure that you've got some nice square shapes there. And so some of these, since we built them with primitives, they have UVs already, but they don't necessarily match up with the geometry. So in this case, we've got the UVs and they're not overlapping. If we just go ahead and unfold this, it's going to match it up. You can see it stretches it out a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and grab those UVs, pull them down into this 0 to 1, and I want to maximize the amount of texture space I'm using, so I'll just scale those up, maintaining that shape. So you can see they're nice and square, meaning that our texture is not going to be distorted. Now you could lay out all of these pieces on one texture map, so think of this square as one map. If you wanted to lay those all out and make sure they're not overlapping, you could do that. You could choose any 2 of these or 3 of these and lay them out together. I'm going to go ahead and, for this exercise, just lay everything out on its own map. So I'm going to make this one its own map, and let's go ahead and look at maybe the spike. You can see that we made this from a cube, and that really doesn't match up the shape that we have there at this point. So if we unfold it, it gets close, but we're missing one of the sides. So what we can do is actually go up to polygons, create UVs, and just do an automatic map, and that'll kind of break everything apart. And then we can go in and actually connect these things together. So if we select this edge, it'll show us the edge that corresponds to that. If we go ahead and hit move and sew, it'll pop that over. We can select these edges, do the same thing, and then we can just gradually kind of hook all of these pieces together. Okay, anytime you select an edge, it'll show you the corresponding edge that you need to select. Pop that together, and this one, and just go through the process of attaching all of these things together. Okay, and once we've got everything attached, we go ahead and select the UVs, go Control right click and say to shell. I'm going to move this over so I can work on it a little bit better, and we can go ahead and hook that one together. Okay, we've got one more over on this side. Let's go ahead now, just select all of these UVs and unfold those, and it's going to just straighten everything out a little bit, match it up a little bit better with the faces that we have in the viewport. And we've got one little piece over here that actually goes up here. I'm going to go ahead and select, let's select these and connect those together, just like that. Okay, if I want to go ahead and select those, unfold them a bit, I'm going to grab this edge where that little box goes, and there it is. Last little piece, unfold that. And now we can go ahead and grab this entire piece, and to maximize it in this space, we can rotate it a bit because it's got that corner, just so we can make it a bit larger. Alright. So you can see these are turned, but they are nice and square, and that should work fine for us. Same thing here, I've already done part of this. You can break this apart into pieces, so this side, and then the center. You can see I've already got this side worked out. So this side I'm going to select the kind of the front face of it, which is this right here, and I'm just going to go in, select one side. Okay, that's going to show us, okay, that corresponds to this side. I'll pop that right over there. Go ahead and select the other side, and then we can select the top and bottom. So something like that. Okay, and then if we want to come in and add the back, just add that in together. And then we just want to go ahead and just arrange these somehow so that we can fit them all within this space and still maximize our space. We could do, if we cut these apart, we could have more seams and be able to make these a bit larger if we wanted to. Okay, wherever these are connected, you won't have seams. In ZBrush, it's not going to matter that much because you can paint right over the seams. So it just depends on what you want to do with your textures. If you want to paint these in Photoshop, it might be a little bit easier to minimize the seams. But the main thing is you want to get non-overlapping UVs. You want to kind of maximize the space that you're using. You can scale these up because we've got a lot of wasted space here, but you can see that it's kind of nice and square in our viewport. And then the same thing down here. If we go ahead and unfold that, you can see it kind of messes up a little bit. So I would probably just go ahead and do an auto map and then come in here and select these edges. Okay, just along the side. You can it kind of starts to make sense how this is getting connected together once you start doing a little bit more UV work. If you're familiar with UVs, you probably want to go ahead and just skip ahead and you can do them however you want. But I'm just going to go ahead and just connect some of these up until you get this kind of a mesh that makes sense. And you can see how these are nice and square. And then you just go in and connect up the top. Now things like this, when we've got a cylinder, a lot of times what I'll do is actually take this ring, which it's kind of right in here. It's made it as a ring. I'm going to go ahead and unfold this straight away. So I'm going to go ahead and take these, and I want to cut them. So I'll just go ahead and cut. And now when I come in here, you can see that that's going to connect these. These are all disconnected, so it will actually drop those right in there instead of trying to connect it to that ring. And then I can go in and reconnect those. And I'll just go in and sew all of those together. And I can do the same thing down here. Just sew everything together. And then the very top, I could just come in and work out those UVs just like that. And then come in and kind of bring those down. So there we go. Just something like that. The UVs, the exact layout of the UVs don't really matter that much. You just want to get them laid out at some point prior to exporting your maps and exporting your normal maps. So now that we've got our UVs laid out, let's go ahead and look at importing and assembling our geometry within ZBrush.